For those who don't know, my name is Walt Staton, and I am currently serving as the webmaster for this organization, and have served previously as president. I want to give you a little bit of an introduction to me, and I'm going to tell a story, and I don't know whether it's true or not, or all of it is true, or some of it, or whatever. But there is some basis in fact in this story. And it's a story that occurred when I was 15 or 16 years old. That means that was 50 years ago, and my memory tends to enhance things as they go along. So that's why this story may or may not have any basis in real live fact. At that point, I was a member of St. John's Episcopal Church in Lafayette, Indiana. And I was a member of the youth group there. And I remember asking a question, and I had no idea what the question was, but it was a question about faith of some kind to the priest. And his response to me was, "What are you, like Thomas the Doubter, that you have to put your hands in Christ's wounds?"
Oh my gosh.
And here's part of it that I'm not really sure whether or not it's true, but I will make a guess that I probably didn't say, but thought something along the lines. I'm a high school student. 5 days a week I'm in classes where if I don't ask questions, what happens? My grade goes down. And I'm here a couple hours a week, and if I ask questions, my grade goes down. Who do you think has more influence? And I think most of that conversation went on right here. More or less, that was the end of my involvement with the Episcopal Church, and any church for that matter, for another pretty much 50 years until I came here. Coming here, and I'm going to get to what we're talking about here as part of this. One of the things that really attracted me to Unitarian Universalism, other than the challenge that Sally gave me, which was, what am I going to commit to? And when she gave me that challenge, one of the things I did is I started looking seriously at what this movement was all about, and some of its history, and And one of the things that originally really attracted me, and which is why I told the story to begin with, to Unitarian Universalism was that I was reading an article on the UUA website, and I've got no idea what the article was right now, but it was incredibly critical of what was going on in our faith movement for whatever thing that person was complaining about. But that was highlighted on our website, so we were looking at self-criticism and self-evaluation and not hiding it. And that was to me, was a really exciting prospect given my previous history. So what I was asked to talk about today was what happened over the spring in Boston, pretty much, where we're centered. And what happened was, and again, I give you a little bit of context here. This organization has, organizationally, it's headquartered in Boston, and then around the country there are five regions that we're broken into. And we in Florence are part of the Western region, which takes up all of the United States west of Texas, north through Alaska, and out to Hawaii. So it's theoretically it is an enormous area. Each of these five regions has a paid staff person who is the lead person in that group. And the lead person for the southern region, or the southeast region, that position became available, and they went on a search and found a minister in Phoenix to fill that role. In the process, they passed over a woman who lived in the region and was a black woman who was not a minister. She was a credentialed religious educator, had a master's degree in religious education, had many, many years of experience doing this, and she was passed over and pretty much told that she was not a good fit for this position. As that process developed, there was a meeting of professionals of color of UUs back in Boston or Baltimore, I believe it was, at that time. And what happened there was that this woman spoke up and said, "Look, how come I didn't get this job? Also, we are not we are not promoting people of color within professional ministry and within the professional staffing here." And it got pretty nasty pretty quickly. Our president, Reverend Peter Morales, felt that during this process that he was not doing a good job of leadership and resigned at that point. He only had 3 months to go in his term, which was kind of bizarre, but that's, he resigned. Following that, the chief operating officer also resigned, and then the leader or the chief person over the congregational life staff, which is essentially all of the field staff that we have out in the 5 regions, that person also resigned, which was kind of a shock to the system, to say the least. And as part of that also, and this goes into, I think, more of what was wrong in our organization, that a number of those people who resigned received very generous severance packages to the tune of almost $500,000 total. In an organization that does not have a lot of money and was laying people off and was budget poor for quite a while, which seemed excessive, and it is excessive. Many organizations, when faced with this kind of a ongoing crisis, will tend not to say anything about this. What the board did on the resignation of the president was they appointed a 3-person presidential caretakership team. And when they took over that position, within a week of doing so, announced that severance package and the issues involved there. I was reading this morning, and I have not found any resolution to it other than they said that some of the people there were at least willing to have a conversation about renegotiating that package. I think one of the shocking things about it was, one of the shocking things also about that particular thing was that the rules under which severance packages are granted for those people who are dismissed, not for those people who resign on their own. And so there were several things that sort of rang little nasty bells and said, this is not a good idea. We then got ourselves through to our annual meeting, which occurred just a few weeks ago, and we had no option at that point, for what it's worth. We then elected, we have now the first elected female president of the Unitarian Universalist Association that we've ever had. And that is interesting in several regards. One is, you would have thought that by now that we would have had, that would have occurred, just sort of naturally. One of the things that's historically interesting about that is that the Unitarian movement in the 1800s was the first movement ever to ordain women as ministers in the United States. So you would have thought that an organization that had a long history of promoting women within the movement would have elected a woman prior to this. To the best of my knowledge, neither the Unitarians nor the Universalists ever have, and we certainly haven't as a combined organization. So we're making progress, but it's slow. And I am really heartened by what I am seeing, in that we are willing to talk about things that are uncomfortable. And one of the things that they're talking about back in Boston, and the way they're phrasing it, that I'm not particularly comfortable with, is what people are saying is, in essence, is that what we have in the United States today is a culture of white supremacy. And that culture, I think, is best viewed not in terms of cross-burning KKK types of people, but I think it's best viewed in relationship, say, to something when people think about autism, which is a spectrum of things. So that you have, on one end, a highly disabled individual, and then there are people that are sort of, not just beginning on the scale. So I think that what we see is, not within Unitarian Universalism are we burning crosses and running around in white sheets. However, this is a movement, and nationally there are 20% of us are people of color, which is, if you look at the population as a whole, it's almost 40% of the United States population are not white. And so we're underrepresented. Back in the 1960s, when we were very active as a movement within the civil rights movement, a large number of people of color joined Unitarian Universalists in church, became members, and drifted away as we did not make them fully part of the system and fully part and welcome within our movement. It seems that at some level we were willing to say, we'll help you out there, but I'm not sure I want you up here leading us or participating fully in the life of the church. And that's a shame. And I'm seeing where the Black Lives Matter movement, which we are deeply involved with as assisting, is beginning to have a positive effect on us as a faith movement, and I'm really heartened by that. I have to, again, I tend to think about things over long periods of time and see how trends go. And I think about things like, before Unitarians or Universalists got started, we came out of a movement called the Congregationalist movement. And the Congregationalist movement in New England, just so that we know who we're talking about, these are the folks that conducted the Salem witch burnings. So out of that movement, we've come to this, where we are today, which is, I think, a pretty magnificent place where we are today. Are we there? Are we complete? No. But I think we're capable of change, and that is, to me, a good thing. We are capable of looking at ourselves and seeing our foibles, our mistakes, and our opportunities to grow. And not always are we going to take full advantage of it, but we seem to take it a step at a time, maybe once in a while a step or two back, but we continue to grow and change and get better. And I'm really heartened by that. And what I would suggest then to us as a congregation and as a place to think, and it was interesting because when we went over to Eugene to the district meeting over there, I was able to have a conversation with Jim Key, who was the moderator of UUA at that time. He just passed a few weeks ago. And what a question was asked of him in that meeting was, what should small congregations do to become more involved in the greater movement? And his answer surprised me greatly, although I think I now understand it a lot better than when he gave it. Because the answer he gave then was, well, you guys ought to go and watch the UUA board meetings online, because they're broadcast online. I thought, excuse me, I want to go, I got enough meetings to go to, and yet you want me to watch a meeting? I don't think so. But what I think he was saying was, take advantage of all the wonderful things that the national organization has out there. And I got to looking this morning and realizing that I'm on half a dozen different email lists that we all can be on, that give us all kinds of interesting information about the movement, about what's going on in the world. And yeah, I think that it's a good idea to spend a few minutes a week looking at what else is going on so that we become more connected as part of this and become part of the conversation towards change and towards bettering ourselves. So I'll be happy to sit around and be part of the circle afterwards, and I want to be sure Sally has enough time to get us out of here by 11, which we should be able to do. So thank you very much for the time today, and I hope I covered a little bit of what I was asked to talk about.